Hi everyone, I'd like to tell you a story. Once upon a time, in 1977, there were two prestigious psychology professors from Columbia University in New York City. And they were having a lot of conflict. Both of them did not like each other. They would not get along, and it was creating a big problem in their lives. They were divided until one day when they sort of threw their hands up in the air and said, there must be another way. And in saying that, it's as though they said a little prayer. It's like they stopped and asked for help. There must be another way. Not this way, it's not working. That little bit of willingness opened up a door. It opened up the door that you and I will learn and relearn to open again and again and again, because throughout our lives we get closed, we close ourselves off, we get closed-minded, and we stop asking for help, and we think we can muscle through, and we think we can do things on our own. We have to keep learning how to be a little bit willing, have a little bit of willingness to say help. So Helen Schucman and William Thetford, or Bill Thetford, who did not get along, said this little prayer, and when they did, then Helen started having really vivid dreams and vivid images, and Bill encouraged her to write them down. And she began to write them down, and when she did, she was surprised that she became a scribe for a force that was being channeled through her. She's an atheist working in the Columbia University psychology department for the College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. And she suddenly writes down the line, "This is A Course in Miracles." And that's when it began. She began, with the encouragement of Bill, to write a 669-page text and a 365 lesson workbook and a 92-page manual for teachers. It took them 7 years, and I think it was a surprise, definitely to Helen, that this was happening. This is the beginning of a series of conversations that I want to start to have with you in these little snippets of videos. I have read this text, A Course in Miracles, and I have gone through the lessons myself, and I've gone through the manual for teachers. I've done it every day for the past, I guess, about 16 years. And I've read it more than once. I've written summaries about it. I share a podcast with a close friend of mine who's also familiar with the content of the book. And it's a really very passionate subject of mine. I know that it's extremely powerful material, and I've read a lot of different resources that are somewhat similar and somewhat in line with the idea of what the mind is, or what the power of the mind can do. And it wasn't until I read this text through and quite frankly, didn't understand it the first time I read it. It took me a couple years to read it through, and I still didn't understand the darn thing. I just knew that it was real and it was true. And it was so consistent, yet so complicated, but yet now when I look back, so simple, that how can it be all those things all in one? And the saurce that was dictating it to Helen as she was writing it talks in the course as, like, says I. And that I who's talking to her is the consciousness that we all are a part of, or that we all share. Some people might say it's a Christ consciousness. The language in the text and in the book is a Christian language, but that is definitely not meant to weed or to exclude anyone from reading it or including it in their list of resources. It is simply a language that is used to portray ideas in this text. I feel really comfortable with the use of this language now, with the words like brother and God and Holy Spirit and Son. And even though there are things that could trigger a person when they're reading that, I have become comfortable with them. So now I talk using a lot of that language. And this text and this workbook is something that I have spent nights lying awake about and thinking about how I would be very excited to share the ideas that really lead to a true, profound sense of peace and joy and love in a person's life. The principles on which it's built are the foundation for everything else in your life. So way back when I started to get interested in creating your own reality, when that subject was introduced to me at first, I got really excited about it and wanted to know everything I could about create your own reality and how do I do this. And I started to realize there were downfalls in create your own reality. If create your own reality meant that your mind is in charge of your experiences, I knew I didn't have control over my mind at all times. I knew I had thoughts that were deep down there in my subconscious that I didn't really have a handle on. And I didn't have a handle on my ups and downs, my happy thoughts, my negative thoughts. This book is the answer to how to scrape right down to the bottom of all of your foundation, of all of your beliefs, and reconstruct your beliefs so that you're built from the foundation up using the concepts of pure love and pure peace and pure joy, pure beauty, eternity, abundance, and equality. And when you get down and you start with all those principles, and those are the only things in your essence, which that's what's in all of that's what is all of us in essence, those words. And if we can remove all of the other things that are blocking that love from getting through, and that peace and that joy from getting through, then yes, you will create your reality based on that beauty and that love that you carry around and you exude and you extend to others. So I'm kind of glad that Helen and Bill had this conflict and that they threw their hands up in the air and they asked for help without really knowing it, kind of. And it's a good reminder to all of us about how important it is to surrender once in a while, or as many times as you can think of, you can remember to do so. Surrender and remember that there has to be a better way. There must be a different way than this. And then allow it. That little bit of allowing really opens up it opens up the door that is just dying to be swung open, and it's just dying to have a flood of resources come through to you if you only open up just a little tiny bit. So that was my intro to talk about how A Course in Miracles came to be, with at the same time reminding us all that throwing your hands up in the air and saying, there has to be a better way, is a nice little daily practice, and ask for that help. And I'm going to do a series of videos to talk about the book that is so near and dear to my heart, because there's a lot to talk about, and there are a lot of themes to go through. And I'm really, really excited because it is my number one priority in my whole being, my whole life, is to know this better and better all the time, and to share it and to live it, because it is the answer. I know it. So join me, and join me again in the future as we'll talk about the next portion of what is A Course in Miracles. See you then.